My name is Loukman Ali, and I'm a film director. I started my journey back when I was in primary school, sketching and drawing comic strips. And then I transitioned into graphics design. That's during my starting from Form 2. So I was doing Photoshop. I learned that from a colleague from school. So I started doing that pretty much the entirety of high school, all the way to like end of Form 4, I think. Then during that time, I started mixing graphics design with my sketching. So by the time I finished Form 6, I was kind of an expert with Photoshop and drawing. So I went to university to study industrial design. I saw industrial art. But because of these things that I've been doing during my high school, which I was uploading on Facebook, I started getting a lot of like fans and people sending me messages, offering me jobs. So I got a couple of offers. Like I also have to take you back. I really hated school all the way from primary. So by the time I'm getting into university, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. It wasn't something I enjoyed doing. It wasn't fun for me. I was introduced to film editing from Phenon Records by Steve Jean. He showed me Final Cut Pro, and it just took me like, it took me over the interface, how to open files, how to save, and all that stuff. And then, yeah, walked out, and I pretty much had to figure out everything else myself from YouTube and just experimentation. So from there, I went into advertising, worked for Scanad, where I learned a lot about poster design, making billboards, making logos and stuff. Yeah, so I mean, all these things have kind of like come together to make me the person that I am, because now I know a little bit about the entire process, all the way from the sketching, all the way from the writing, the sketching of the storyboards, all the way to poster designs. So yeah, from there I went to Norway and worked for a company as a designer and also motion graphics designer. So that's kind of where I improved on my 3D animation. And it's there that I bought my very first camera and shot my first short film, which I was the only choice for the director because I was the only one there. So I shot it, directed it, edited, pretty much did all the work. And that was my very first time. And it sucked because usually, anytime, like movies, when people watch movies, there's a way you think you can make one simply because when you're watching it, you feel like you understand what's happening. But it's designed to make you feel that way. It's designed to be simple for you to understand. But the process of designing and making it is actually very complicated, and it's not as simple as it looks. So anyways, any person that thinks they can make a movie, they might be right, but they are usually wrong. So the first one was, of course, not that good. It's called Monday. It's on YouTube. So from that, I went on and made the Bad Mexican, which is also on YouTube. It's also a bit like, but then after that, I made a lot of commercials for a while, TV commercials. I started writing my own commercials. So what I forgot to mention is I was very dyslexic in school. Couldn't write, couldn't spell for a very long time, all the way into like high school. So my confidence in regards to writing had been very low for like all my life. So I had avoided writing anything. So after Bad Mexican, which I kind of attempted to write, after Bad Mexican, I was encouraged by some guy called Joel. He told me you should try to learn the format and structure of a script and try to write one. So after making a couple of commercials, I started writing The Girl in the Yellow Jumper. It took me a while to write that through. So it's the project that I used to actually learn the formatting of a script. It's like you have the dialogue, you have the character, you put the action beats, you put like all these things. I used that to learn how to format. Yeah, so that was my first feature film. It was incredibly hard to make and was very eye-opening for me. Learned a lot of things from that. And yeah, after that, it's just been a roller coaster, just doing one project here, doing one project over there. Yeah, I guess now we've caught up to where I am today. Still trying to like make more films. But I can say it doesn't get any easier, at least in my experience. It only gets harder because the more you know that you didn't know before. And the more you discover, the more you realize how much more you have to learn. So it just feels like a Russian doll. The more you open, the more there is inside. It just feels endless. So my advice to the younger me, I don't even know what I would add, because the only advice I would have for the younger me is the same thing I actually followed. I realized early on that no one gives you a chance. You have to like just take it. And I think this was when I was working at Fenon, because I always wanted to film, but I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed, and I understand why I wasn't. I didn't know how to handle some of this equipment. But I always felt like I deserved the chance to be the guy that films. But I was never allowed, which I understand now, being that I also own my own equipment and I don't want anyone to just touch it. But I quickly learned that for me to be able to do this, I have to like give myself the opportunity, because no one will just find me there and tell me, hey, you look like you'd make a good director. So I'd say if you want to be like a director, you just pick up a camera and direct. Yes, that's the advice. I think you just have to do the thing you want to do. Apart from medicine, maybe, because you don't want to just go and start treating people. You might end up killing. But other things, I highly recommend you just go out and do it. So for me, my favorite parts of filmmaking are writing and editing. Those two, actually. Those are my favorite. Directing, depending on, if the project is not mine and there's a lot of money, directing is fun, because you just sit there and let other people do the work and then you just critique. But usually when it's my own project, I have to like, there's no sitting down. It's just like too much. So for me, my favorites are writing and editing, because I feel like you shape the story as a writer, editor. That's actually interesting. There's someone watched my short film on YouTube, 16 rounds, and they told me how it was a lot of action film. But when you actually break it down percentage-wise, the action is like 20%. So I think it wouldn't necessarily qualify as an action. Because the reason I know that it's very small is because I wrote it the first time, and then I was like, oh, there's this action sequence I've always wanted to make. Since this guy is a soldier, maybe I should add it in. So it's something that came as an afterthought. So it's something I wrote in later. I'm like, oh, I'll have this guy have a memory of a war. And that's it. That's like the only action part. I think the reason why some of these films feel actiony is because the dialogue is also kind of like very action inspired. So it always feels like a fight, like even when people are talking, the exchange itself feels like something might happen. So the stakes and the tension kind of makes you feel like there's a lot more happening than there is actually. But when I'm shooting the action, I try to make it as precise as possible so that it's memorable. And then when people think back at the film, they tend to think about the action parts most, and they think the whole thing is action. With my dyslexia, it was more like not being able to read, not being able to write like spellings. Like, I'll give you an example, like you can have a word and take out like maybe 50% of its letters. And in my brain, I will not see that those letters are missing. So when I'm writing a sentence, I could miss, like, let's say the sentence is made up of 10 words. I could miss like 4 words. And someone will have to read it out loud for me to realize that I've missed words. For me, those words will be there. I'll be seeing them, but they won't be there. So because of that, and our African schools and teachers who just don't realize that this is not because someone is stupid. I always felt like maybe I can't write. Maybe I'm, So I had all these stories from childhood, all these say interesting ideas that I never got a chance to like express, because I always felt like I could say it and then people might realize that I'm actually quite stupid. Yeah, but then during my time in advertisement, I realized that stupid ideas are actually what people refer to as creative, because that's how creativity works. So at that point, I just started writing out all the silly things that I've always thought about. I don't like preachy movies, because every time I've watched a film that tries to tell me what to do, there's so many things that I do, and I'm very well aware that I shouldn't be doing. Like, I know I shouldn't be doing this because it's not a good thing for me to do. Yeah, but I'm human, and that's like the weakness that I have, and I'm going to do it. So if I have a film that's just constantly judging me and telling me, oh, you shouldn't do this, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, oh, why are you drinking and driving? I don't do that, but I'm just giving an example. I'm thinking, like, I don't want to watch a movie and be judged. Yes, actually, I'm currently working on one. I love horrors. My favorite genres are westerns, horrors. What don't I like, actually? I like all of them. It's just that I don't like poorly made ones. So most horrors are not well done. There's only a few that you watch and you genuinely... There's a film called Sinister. One time I watched it, and I'm not terrified of movies at all, because when I'm watching a film, I'm seeing the process. This is a film I watched, and I started calling people to come, and so I'm not by myself. That's how scary that is. So I like a good horror film, something that I watch and I'm like, let me pause this, I'll watch it during the daytime. So I like that kind of... I love comedies mostly, but it's also very hard to get a good comedy. Most of them are like this, I guess, lightly edited. Of course, making comedies is very hard. Also, comedy is a lot about, like horror, it's so much about timing. So you also need actors that have like the perfect comedic timing, and also the editing. A joke might be funnier in like 3 seconds than in one, so the person saying the lines, if they say them too quickly, it might not be as funny. They say them, so it's about timing. And sometimes you need someone that might not necessarily be a comedian, but someone that just understands timing. Yeah, but like with most films, the editor tends to create the pacing, so that's why editing is very important. So for me, it's I'd say I'm quite a family guy. Sorry, the reason I'm laughing is because there's a TV show called The Family Guy, and it's hilarious when one time he said he's a family guy, and it just came back to my head, that's why I laughed. But yeah, I'm so much about my family. So for me, I grew up with a little bit of tough love. So for me, love to me is when people come to you and tell you things that you might not want to hear, but coming from a good place. So this is why when I make films or videos or whatnot and people criticize, I tend to, for some reason, I gravitate towards the people that have given me criticism, not like abuse, but criticism, because it feels familiar. It feels like what I'm used to getting. So sometimes I'm like, I talk to those people more and asking them like, what do you think I should do? What do you do? Stuff like that. I don't know if it's a bad thing. It could be. Maybe I was raised wrong, but I was always like, since I started drawing when I was like 5. So my child is more like me running with a picture, and I'm like, how is this? So I grew up with all like, oh, maybe you should improve this, maybe you should improve that. So every time I'm online and someone is like, oh, I saw your movie, maybe you should work on this. And I'm like, okay, I would like to hear what this person has to say. Because for me, I guess that triggers a childhood thing where I connect that sort of constructive criticism with like parental, yeah. I used to own a dog, and I think that's the most, I think that's the most love a human being can feel. It's like from a dog. Yeah, like it doesn't matter if you have a Valentine's Day gift. It doesn't matter if you have what. The dog is just happy to see you. So for me, I think there's something about that. You're like, you've had a bad day, but the dog doesn't understand that you had a bad day. The same joy of yesterday is the same joy of today. It's the same thing with like babies. That's why I like babies up to the point of like 5 maybe. Then they become annoying. But with more dogs, I guess. That's my ideal. Yeah. What I'm saying is I actually like dogs. Because my background is in commercials, I can get even like the worst film, okay, not the worst film, like a film with a couple of good ideas, good shots, and I can make a cool trailer out of that. So I made a really cool trailer for my film. Pretty much the only good part about that film is the trailer. So I made that, put it online, and it just moved by itself. I hate it when people tell me, please share my thing or please like my page. I hate it when people ask me to do that. So I never ask people to do that. I never tell people, please share my project. Please do this, please do that. But people shared that thing on their own. And I feel like when I see something nice, I don't need people to tell me to share it. Like I just share it willingly. I don't need any thank yous or whatever. Because a good thing is a good thing. So that thing was shared by so many people until it landed to the right kind of people. So the people it landed on, they just sent me a message. You know that thing they say, like rich people, when rich people give you a job, you send them the job and they're like, okay, what's your account? And then poor people are the ones that will say, Kati, what's the what? How do you know, they ask a lot of questions. So anyways, this trailer got to the right people. They just sent me a message like, are you interested in selling this to Netflix? I was like, yeah. I thought they were joking. And then the next thing I see is an email from someone in Netflix. No, there's a Kenyan guy that actually sent it. After asking that question, he sent it. The Kenyan guy is called Philip. He sent it to a lady called Dorothy. She's still at Netflix right now, actually. And then she sent me an email. And the email was pretty much like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was more on the lines of like, are you interested in selling this? Do you have distributors, blah, 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 all that stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm interested. I don't have any distributors. So she then put me in touch with a couple of distributors. Now all these things are happening, and for me, the only part of filmmaking I knew was recording, editing, and rendering. So everything they're telling me is new. I didn't even know what a distributor does. So they connect me to some distributors. They're called Okada Media. So they connect me to these people, and then they pretty much do most of the work. All I have to do is like read and sign. So when these people they send these contracts, I sign them. They ask for so much paperwork, so much, especially like actor contracts, music stuff, all these things, a lot of which I didn't have. So we had to like go around and start begging people we worked with before. Something else I learned from that is also like you need to have your paperwork in check, because when you're starting a project, people that will be okay coming to help out, or people that will beg you to come and help you out, people that you didn't even ask to come, but people that have asked to come and work with you, when you go back and ask them for a contract, to sign a contract for you, they will ask you for a lot more than the people you asked to come. So now I'm very big on having all the paperwork that you need. Anyway, so once we did all that, the process, the internal process, they don't really tell you. So after we signed, they were like, cool, we'll get back to you. And then that was it. I just waited and waited and waited and waited. And I almost thought that maybe they changed their minds. So as I was on Netflix checking for something else, I saw my film on Coming Soon. And that was it. It's really not what you think, actually. And I feel like there's always this, when you're the first at something, it's very hard to explain to other people how sometimes underwhelming it can be. Because you have this idea that, like let's say an actor is like, I'm going to go to Hollywood. And then you go to Hollywood and get like an extra role. And when you come back, other Ugandan actors are like, oh my God, you've made it. But then you know deep down that they paid you like $500, and you know Ugandans here that are making more than you. But you're thinking, should I tell them? So it puts you that you tell them, they'll think you're lying. You don't tell them, they'll think you're holding back information. So it was like that for a while, but I kind of like learned the system and how things work. So I guess now it's slightly better, but yeah, it's not what it is, what it looks like. Especially what people need to understand is that when it comes to streaming, it's a numbers game. What they pay a Ugandan is not what they pay an American. What they pay a Nigerian is not what they pay a Kenyan. It's different. It's all based on the market you can pull. So it's all relative. So people shouldn't really think that their experience is going to be the same as mine or someone else's. It's probably going to be different. Absolutely not. Like, I've thought about that before, that people feel, why don't I feel that pressure? Because even there's a time I won some award, and people are like, so what are you doing next? What are you doing next year? Like, if I have something to do, I'll do it. If I don't have something to do, it's fine. Like, I don't have to be winning this thing all the time. There's other people that can win it. There's other people that can do other things. So the same thing with that film. When I finished that film, actually I made Girl in the Little Jumper before I made Blind Date, before I made 16 Rounds. And in my opinion, both of those two films are slightly better than it. And the reason I did that is because I was trying to improve. So I wouldn't want to make a movie like that again, because I feel like it's not a very good one. But the pressure for me is to try and make a movie that I'm happy with. You know, I think I've said this a lot. If I make a film and people, like, they give me the award for the best movie in the world, I'll not be happy if I'm not happy with that movie myself. So I think for me the goal is to make myself happy, pleasing myself, if you will. So my goal right now is all the films that I'm trying to create are films that I can watch with maybe my parents, my brothers, and we have a good time, and I don't cringe. Those are the films I want to make. I don't care if it wins any awards or whatever. What I do care about is making money, because that's how you justify it. But the goal right now is to make something I'm happy, to justify why I want to make movies. And yeah, and that's why I don't feel the pressure.